I aspire to write about love the way that Laufey does so effortlessly. In a Time magazine interview, she says, quote, I fell in love for the first time, so it's an album about that and the self-discovery that comes with it, end quote. And boy, is it done well. Hello everyone, my name is Kat and this is Kat's Musical Corner, and if you haven't guessed by the title, today we will be talking about Laufey's A Matter of Time. I know that since writing my script that she released a deluxe version of this album, so perhaps if the video does well enough, I will make a video on that. Please like and comment. I found Laufey a while back in 2021 from her Typical of Me EP and have been a dedicated listener since. It's honestly hard not to love her and this album. A Matter of Time is a beautiful collection of intricate melodies, cleverly relatable lyricism, interesting and fun jazzy chords, and a timeless touch of classical influence. What's not to like? I also really felt that Laufey truly expanded her musical arsenal with this project. While she has always been known for her classic jazzy chords, she experimented so much more with acoustic guitar in a more contemporary pop way, and it was so refreshing and an absolute success. She's spoken many times about how she doesn't want to be boxed into a genre, and I think this album is a great representation of that. She said in an interview with Inkle, quote, my music is a mismatch of jazz and classical, bossa nova, and pop. I don't know what it is. I don't like putting myself in a box, end quote. She was not only trying a lot of different things here, but she did them all very successfully. It's a beautiful blend of all the music that she loves. She expressed that this was the first time she didn't really feel like she was trying to fit any mold. She talked about in a YouTube interview believing in her own music and her own genre, Laufey. She stated in an interview with Nadia Alex Eves that this is her most honest music yet, and through her incredibly vulnerable heart-on-sleeve lyricism, it can definitely be seen throughout the project. She said with this album that she just wanted to write songs that reflected her emotion at the time when she was writing them. And I think that kind of vulnerability is what makes this album's success so strong. As musicians, it's a constant battle of almost essentially showing your most vulnerable diary entries to the entire world and hoping that they land in a way that is clear and relatable. The importance that music has in people's lives, especially when the audience connects to the song, cannot be understated. Laufey's openness and her writing ability to convey these complex emotions is what makes this such a standout in her discography. The reoccurring themes of love and time are scattered all throughout this album, and there's a lot of unpacking to do, so let's get to it. Going track by track, the album starts off with a familiar, yet never overdone, jazzy song called Clockwork. This song is lyrically so nice to listen to. The progressive changing outlook she takes from a hesitance to date a friend, how he falls for her, and eventually she falls for him. It's a clever push and pull within the song. The clock sounds pull the audience through the timeline of the song as well. It also gives this feeling of an inevitability that she describes in the song, quote, and nothing brings me fear like meeting with my destiny, end quote. The song really portrays the awkwardness and hesitance of seeing a friend suddenly in a different light and the excitement and concern that comes with that. For people who have been there, it's such a strangely intricate feeling. She portrays it very accurately. She ties in this idea of time and how something is inevitable, like time passing, to the idea of falling in love. This is the beginning of falling in love with someone, that first meeting or first step to see them as something more. It also describes this as an inherently almost anxiety-inducing feeling. Being vulnerable with someone like that is nerve-wracking, which she makes clear throughout the song with lines like, quote, now we're drinking, caught in fight or flight. I think I might be in love with this romantic night. And I know I'm dramatic, but I caved in at his touch. I want him forever. Oh my God, I've said too much, end quote. The fact that time doesn't stop to let her put a pause on these feelings, or by being with this person, she is forced to confront the fact that she might actually like him. And we find that out because she gives herself the opportunity to do so, that he also likes her back. I think it's a great first track, and this song lulls the listener into the album and sets up a great stage for the following track to jump out at the audience. Lovergirl is such a great single off this album. Quirky, relatable, and so catchy. It's definitely one of my favorites. The little rhythmic claps in the track get stuck in your head. We are still traveling through the timeline of love, and she is now exploring more of that interior idea of fear of actually falling for someone and what that means for someone who has always been more independent. And as much as she tries to hold on to them, she can't help but like this guy. She calls herself a lover girl in this song, delving furthermore into the theme of love and her battle to embrace it. Breaking down some of these lyrics, I absolutely love how down to earth they are. I think for many people like me who have felt independent most of their life, it's an odd feeling, almost anxiety inducing, to love someone so much that you no longer crave to do things by yourself, but rather with them by your side. She has a lyric, quote, "Love struck girl, I'd tease her, never thought I'd be her," end quote. And then the great hook of, "Oh, what a curse it is to be a lover girl." It's witty and fun and honest, and paired with this bossa nova inspired guitar, the track does absolutely everything it intended to do. Laufey speaks on how this song describes the feeling of being a hopeless romantic as well. And while in some parts of the song it showcases the hopeless part of that insecurity and doubt with lines like, quote, "I'm working overtime to have you in my world. Oh, what a curse it is to be in love," end quote. But I also think being a hopeless romantic is being hopeful in love. Laufey says in an interview on YouTube about this song, quote, "Being a hopeless romantic is simply being an optimist. Like, I think it's just seeing the good in situations and wishing for the best. That's what I like to think the core of a hopeless romantic is. You can be in love and in hope and a hopeless romantic all at the same time," end quote. And I think that absolutely describes what this song is. The uncertainness, the hopelessness, but also the endless hope and optimism that maybe it'll work out because you keep thinking of this person and wanting this person despite your brain trying to stop you in every way. With lines like, quote, "I can't wait another day to see you," end quote, it really does show that the idea of love, in a way, is also intertwined with the idea of hope. Snow White might be my favorite off the album. The song is so raw and vulnerable, and I think most women know the feeling it so effortlessly portrays. The feeling of being inadequate in societal standards, never feeling like you can keep up with the ever changing definition of what beauty actually is. The opening line, quote, "In which I failed myself, I failed the world all the same," end quote. She doesn't just feel insecure with her view of herself, but how others perceive her, and furthermore, how the entire world does. It's a really intricate commentary on the effects of unrealistic societal standards on women and how you can end up internalizing them. It also pulls in the idea of comparison within this conversation, and then the envy that you can feel towards another girl just because you feel like she is something that you don't. That she is just prettier and better than you, when in reality, both of you are beautiful, but you don't feel convinced under that pressure that you could possibly measure up. The line, "The world is a sick place, at least for a girl. She's everything I am, but my wrongs are turned to rights. Her body is smaller, her skin is fair. She's achieved everything I've dreamed of." It shows how the expectations don't just apply to beauty, but to the standard at which women are held in general. Professionally, a woman's success is not celebrated most of the time, but simply expected. The idea of achieving things and wanting to be successful, there is such pressure, especially in the music industry, for women to be constantly performing at this extraordinary level. The idea of beauty standards and just societal performance standards being intertwined, it's something that starts young and then impacts you for the rest of your life. And I find that deeply relatable. This song is such a beautiful and refreshing addition to the album, and I find myself feeling the lyrics whenever I hear them, remembering when I felt like that, especially in middle school, parts of early high school, and even sometimes today. For anyone feeling this way, this song can maybe bring some comfort in feeling heard in this regard, and knowing that you are never alone in that feeling. It's a beautiful song, and I know so many girls will appreciate it. The theme of time continues here with lines like, quote, "I'll never have enough of it," end quote, showing how she feels even time passing won't change this feeling. The journey of love to me at this point in the album is one that is self-directed, self-love. She's talking about her relationship to herself and her ability to love herself unconditionally, and I think it's such a unique but important conversation to have in an album about love. Okay, I talk way too much about that song. Can you tell it's one of my favorites?
I rack my brain, spend hours and days, I still can't figure it out.
The next song, Castle in Hollywood, is an interesting track as it's a heartbreak song, but not about a lover, instead about a past friendship. As someone who had a friendship breakup my senior year with a girl that I had been friends with for 7 years, this song is exactly how that feels. The push and pull of wanting to tell them things, but being unable to because you guys aren't close anymore and can't be. The happier background of this song is also an interesting choice and one I really appreciate. Laufey in this song is in a good spot. She fell in love with someone she adores and she feels very comfortable with. She's happy, but she just wishes that she could share that with someone who can't be a friend anymore in her life. The poppier sound on this song I really like a lot. It really adds to the vibe that things are good in her life. It's just bittersweet when she thinks about her friend. I think her statement about the song and how painful friendship breakups can be is so true, and this song does a great job of explaining it. Laufey discusses the song in an interview with Rolling Stone, saying, quote, "Most women I know of had a friendship breakup that's just as bad, if not worse than, a romantic breakup. It's a whole lot harder to be like, fuck you to another woman who's changed your life in some way," end quote. The taking back of little habits, the reminders of them that you have to ignore, it's incredibly well written. I love the way this album examines love in such detail and in every way it can be found, both in passion and in heartbreak and any kind of relationship. And how, even sometimes as time goes on, their absence can become even more noticeable with time. But in ways, time has also been kind to Laufey, and how she's at a good place in her life with a good partner. It's a bittersweet sense that I think the song creates with an emphasis on how time shapes that experience. I love the instrumental in this song. I found myself getting the instrumental section stuck in my head all the time. Carousel is rather self deprecating, claiming that the person will regret falling in love with her because she feels she has too many flaws. She wants there to be someone that accepts her wholeheartedly and that grounds her within that love, but she also doesn't trust or love herself to believe that that could happen. The line, "Aren't you sorry that you fell onto this carousel?" She thinks he will regret falling in love with her. Once again, the instrumentation makes it feel more playful, like a kid on the carousel, but the continued return to the melodic dings from the start of the song feels almost circular, dizzying. It makes the listener really have to listen to what she's saying. The actual song feels very nice and calm, but once you go deeper, the lyrics show more sadness and depth. Similarly, she feels like on the outside that it would be nice to be in love with her, but once they get to really know her, she feels that they won't love her anymore. The line, "I'm waiting for you to see the things that are wrong with me," it encapsulates the nervousness of letting someone see all sides of you, especially the parts that you don't usually have on public display. Leve talks about how it's only a matter of time until they see something wrong with her, pun intended, and realize the things that she's been trying to hide. This to me delves into the insecurities of being in love, how someone knowing all the good parts of you ultimately also means that they have to know all the parts that you consider bad. When our self image with ourselves isn't good, as discussed in Snow White, it impacts how we think others will see us as well. When in reality, the love someone gives us isn't dependent on things being perfect, rather, someone seeing us for who we are and giving them a chance to love us for it. I love this song as a first single. I think it's just such an easy listen sonically, and the instrumental is just beautiful. You can really sink into this song. Silver Lining is a beautiful love song, which on the surface reads about always being there with someone through anything, and the silver lining is that you are doing it together, even when it gets hard. But when you dig deeper into the lyrics, it honestly gets much darker. This song details having a reckless, self sacrificial love, staying in a bad relationship simply because you are so devoted and so in love with someone, you don't want to acknowledge the way that the relationship affects you or its current flaws. She opens the song talking about bad habits and then details how her love is almost childlike, which to me could be interpreted as either having this easy feeling or possibly that the relationship doesn't feel that serious yet. I lean more towards the latter, as the chorus has lyrics like, quote, "When you go to hell, I'll go there with you too," and "when we're punished for being so cruel," end quote. The comparison that they are doomed to hell and are both cruel implies that there's unhealthy action on both parts, the bad habits coming into play here, and in the end, they are both ending up in a bad place. As she finishes the song with, quote, "The silver linings, I'll be there with you," end quote, it almost feels like an unhealthy attachment to me. They are both harmful for each other, and both acknowledge they take each other to dark places, but there is a desperation to hold on, to stay together no matter what, that it seems like they don't even recognize that part of it, at least not enough to separate it. This unhealthy love attachment style further examines how sometimes being in love and loving someone else isn't always glamorous and sometimes can even turn harmful if things turn codependent, and how sometimes these issues going unresolved for a period of time, continuing that theme can turn into bigger issues down the line and even cause the downfall of a relationship. This song announced the beginning of her new era after her past album, Bewitched, as she said in an interview for Elle, quote, "I thought Silver Lining just did a really good job at bridging the worlds of Bewitched and this new sound together," end quote. And I completely agree. I think how it fits within the song lineup in this album as well, as this more slower, darker emotional lyricism plays well into the next more dramatic ballad turn, Too Little, Too Late.
The whole town is talking about how you've fallen in love.
Too Little, Too Late is by far one of the standouts on this album. The swelling instrumentals over the course of the song, the building ascending melody, and her rising vocal prowess in the chorus to deliver these hard-hitting lines go insanely hard. Like, OMG, I'll toast outside your wedding day, whisper vows I'll never say to you, because it's too little too late. There's a knife in my heart, and I drop to my knees in despair. This song is an emotional gut punch and a next-level take on the concept of the one who got away, with lines like, but how do I begin to tell you I should have chased you across every state line? The idea of wanting to turn around, wanting to run back and change how things ended, being willing to travel however far to see this person again, but inevitably thinking it is indeed too late. This song is deeply interesting to me because Laufey took a completely different approach to writing it, and it absolutely paid off. Laufey said in an interview with the Rolling Stone that she actually wrote the song from the male perspective. This creates such an interesting character, and it feels really well thought out. I can genuinely visualize this character in my mind. It's the guy that loses the girl he loves and only really recognizes what he's lost and wants to change things after she's gone. The line, I didn't need the reminder of things done wrong, of promises broken, fragility hidden in song. He acknowledges that he has problems that he's hiding, things he hasn't atoned for, but the idea of having her again, the love he genuinely felt but could not keep, torments him. It really makes you feel bad while also acknowledging that the girl he's speaking to is happier without him. And he didn't say the things he should have when he had her. It's expert writing and character building. She talked about wanting to have that constant tension portrayed in the song that he would be feeling in that situation. She says she wanted a constant uphill and then for it to bang out into the wedding scene. She says, quote, it's so dramatic, and I completely agree. With the storyline building of pining after someone you can't have, to seeing that you really can't have them because you are literally at their wedding watching them pledge undying vows to someone else, is crazy to say the least, but in the absolute best way. The song shows time passing in a very obvious way. The character she portrays in the song is regretting how he acted in the past, and waiting on the girl he loves even though she's now marrying someone else, because all he can think about is the future they could have had together if he had acted differently. This song focuses more on an unrequited narrative of love, but love just the same, however tragic. The Cuckoo interlude is so cute, and I love the touches of the previous song's melodies. I really like specifically the snippet of Snow White snuck in there, and the snippets of what I heard was also every single other song on the album, which is really cool. It gives the Nutcracker in the best way. It's also a beautiful way to integrate her love for classical music into this album, especially taking musical elements from the past tracks to do so. She says, quote, it truly paid homage to my classical roots, end quote, and involves her cello within it. It's putting new takes on vocal melodies within the same project. So cool. She mentions in an interview with Nadia Alexeev on YouTube how all of her favorite operas, musicals, and ballets included interludes, and she wanted to be able to play with that within her album. She says she was inspired by a lot of French Impressionist music, which has a lot of emphasis on exploration of orchestra color and ways instruments and things can be unconventionally used to create an atmosphere. She mentions composers specifically like, sorry for the pronunciation ahead of time if I mess it up, Debussy and Ravel. Ravel was known for placing more emphasis on creating color through timbre rather than melody. Debussy did the same, perhaps more experimentally, and both were able to use instruments and orchestras in a way that hadn't been done before. In this interlude, she includes many instruments like cellos, oboes, clarinets, violins, harps, and interesting percussion choices like clock sounds and cowbells. She mentions how weird sounds and combining things that don't sound like they would go together, but eventually resolve sounds really perfect. She mentions viewing the album itself as a musical and taking this inspiration from musicals. For example, The Sound of Music with its grand prelude. It's really a nice touch and pays amazing homage to these classical features of music. The clock is forever present in this track, reminding us that time is still passing and the album continues to progress. It leads exceedingly well into Forget Me Not. Forget Me Not, a beautiful, classically influenced song about the struggles of leaving her homeland to pursue her dreams. The touch of Icelandic lyrics in the chorus just ties this entire song together for me, and it makes it an absolutely beautifully painful listen in the best way. The line,
I left my own homeland to chase reverie. Gleymdu mér aldrei þó ég héðan flýg. Gleymdu
roughly translate to, "Never forget me, even if I run away, never forget me, my love." This could apply to a person and could be interpreted as a love song and a lover she left to go down her own path, but listening to it with the intended meaning and personifying her home country, it's heartbreakingly beautiful and the homesickness just seeps off the track. She says, quote, "This song sounds like a love letter to a guy, but it's a love letter to Iceland and how I had to leave to chase my dreams. I love my country so much and I hope it never forgets me," end quote. I think not only is it so beautiful that someone could listen through this song in a different lens, like a lover, and have it still be meaningful, but the intended meaning is just as heartbreaking. Sacrificing things for your dreams is something that, if you dream big, you have probably had to think about, and actually doing it is incredibly difficult. This song encompasses that feeling of leaving something behind, something you've always had, in hopes of pursuing something you've always wanted. Her love for Iceland is so palpable in this track, and I think it just shows how much she loves her home country and also how much she loves music. She mentions how she went back to Iceland and recorded this song with the Icelandic Symphony Orchestra. This is actually a really cool callback because she actually debuted playing with them as a solo celloist when she was 15 and also played with them in 2022 to help her record a live rendition of her songs called A Night at the Symphony. She talks about how she modeled the song after Icelandic folk tunes. Overall, this song just has such a cool inclusion of music back in Iceland and the music that she grew up around. This song focuses more on love for home, homesickness specifically, and the type of time that leads to a feeling of nostalgia and longing after not being in a place for a while. It's a really unique perspective to the thematic elements of the album so far, and I really like how she's able to talk about love in all its forms, including places.
You said I can't read your mind, but I'm reading it just fine.
Tough Luck is such a nice switch up on the album. It's full of energy and once again touches on a more poppy sound while keeping the classical roots within the songs. The song builds over time with the instruments, starting with this really tense cello and growing throughout the song with more elements like more strings and drums, and then by the bridge, there is even an electric guitar too. All these elements make the lyrics bring that much more of a punch, especially when the instruments are dropped in particular parts to increase the tension back up in the song, like in the beginning with the line, "You beg me to be silent." It makes the silent feel so much bigger in the context of how quiet everything else gets. She refers to the song as a musical word painting, and I absolutely agree with that. The bridge is irresistibly catchy, and the song makes you resent the person she's speaking of because we can all imagine someone who is too egotistical to realize their own immaturity or condescension. The song is fun, catchy, and danceable. It's also one of her angrier songs lyrically, and you can definitely feel that cheekiness and fire in the song. It's a nice pickup in the album and really keeps the listeners on their toes. Laufey says in an article for the Rolling Stones, quote, "I was excited to write a song that was that angry. It's a modern thing to be angry in a song, but still have the most classical writing I've ever done," end quote. The combinations of these genres work so well, and I honestly think it only enhances the anger portrayed within the song by having listeners focus more on the lyrics and melodic patterns. Lyrically, I really love the story this song tells, and I think it can be very relatable to some. She used lines like, quote, "Does your mother even know? You demoralized me, effaced me, just to feed your frail ego," end quote. Which she explains in the context of an interview about feeling truly done wrong by this guy, but almost wanting to protect him in a way, and others' opinions of him. She felt she wanted to protect his feelings because she cared about this person, but also realized how badly that she was treated. And in the end, being angry and being sassy is okay and normal. She spoke on how important it is to let yourself feel those emotions, especially anger as a woman. Another line in the song is, quote, "You said I'd never understand the things that make a man," end quote, discrediting her based upon her gender simply because she wasn't a man she couldn't possibly understand. I think this song is such a breath of fresh air. Hearing a woman be so cheeky and so confident in her portrayal of an objectively bad dude and not apologizing for it. She mentions during the relationship with this person feeling put down with the line, quote, "For so nearly convincing me I'm not quite as smart as I seem, that I'm a loudmouth nobody," end quote. This song just feels like the best conclusion to that chapter, and reclaiming her confidence and her worth and knowing that she is incredibly smart and that the things she says does have substance. I think this could be a lot of girls' post-breakup anthem, and I love that for them. Obviously, this gears more towards the anger that love not working out can create, especially if it's in a scenario where someone is disrespected in the way that Laufey describes. The time passing showed her more and more of this person's true color and gave her the strength to leave and remind her of her own self-worth. I love this contribution to the album. A Cautionary Tale is another song with a different instrumental, and I absolutely love it. The guitar picking with the strong piano chords really pulls at the heartstrings, and lyrically, it's just as heartfelt. Laufey says in an interview that she pulled experiences from herself, her cousin, and her sister to write this song, as she wanted it to be a cautionary tale to girls when it comes to dating. The situation of the song is painted very clearly, and she sums it up pretty well saying, quote, "Ultimately, it's a song about being a giver and giving someone all of yourself and not really having them receive it," end quote. I think the concept of when someone creates space or distance within any type of relationship, sometimes the immediate instinct is to give them more to make up for it, to make it easier for them, and in turn, you feel like you are making it easier for yourself. That by doing this, it'll fix the issue or maybe even fix his, but in the end, all you do is sacrifice yourself and your own well being and boundaries, and lose yourself of trying to make sense of someone who isn't even willing to figure it out themselves. The idea of giving too much of yourself to fix someone who isn't willing to put in the work to fix themselves is an impossibly draining situation, especially with someone you love, and this song is the absolute embodiment of that feeling. With lines like, quote, "I gave it too much, I gave myself up, I lost sight of all my dignity. My heart to you handed, you took it for granted," end quote. In the aftermath of a situation like this, you find yourself almost mad at yourself, angry for giving all that you did, and how, despite bending over backwards, the person was never truly going to fix the issue within themselves that was affecting the relationship. And it's impossible to not acknowledge your part in it, with lines like, "My chameleon heart," showing that despite knowing that she is a smart girl and claims to have these boundaries, she also played a role in letting it get this far by not walking away herself. By shifting into someone who is easier and someone who fixes things, rather than an entire person that is deserving of the love that she wants. This song to me is an embodiment of anger at the situation, at herself, at this person, but also empathy. In the song, there's a line, quote, "Oh, inside you, there's a guiltless child who never saw his mother smile, a boy who had no sense of home, believes he's better off alone, who coils up in jealousy to mask his insecurities, and I can't fix you, God, I tried. The hourglass I shattered just in time," end quote. She mentions in an interview of seeing everyone who wrongs her as a child, as someone who at a time would have never done something like that, and almost mourning whatever that person had to go through to make them do the things that they've done now. In turn, it's almost a form of forgiveness, of acknowledging that someone was different once, and while they may not have access to you anymore, maybe could be again in the future. She says, quote, "I've never been able to be completely angry at somebody because I can always see another side to it, that maybe there's a part of you that made you that way," end quote. This song grew on me a lot from first listen and has probably become one of my favorite songs from the album. It's just so painfully relatable, but in a really beautiful and somewhat hopeful way, both wishing the best for this person and also for yourself. This exploration of love shows how sometimes it's still there, even when you feel you've been wronged, because you can see that the issue was the both of you, one not loving the other enough, and one not loving themselves enough to leave sooner. I think this shows that time passing can also be a lesson, and going through these difficult relationships can teach you a lot about what to look for in other people and how you see yourself. Mr. Eclectic. The cheekiness of the song, the wit of the lyrics, the beautiful jazzy chords. Just to break down some of this, the amount of 9 chords, 13 chords, wacky inversions like C minor 6 over 9, and even 5-note chords like A minor 7, B flat 5, and D major 7, B flat 9. Crazy. These chords are crazy complex and they immediately catch your ear when listening. This song has my favorite instrumental by far. The chords are so interesting to listen to, the backing vocals are so nice, but the lyrics, those are the best part. Laufey says that this song is about the ultimate performative male. The guy that comes up to you talking about all this prestigious literature, authors, poets, and musicians purely because they want to impress you or get with you, if you get what I mean. She talks about the type of guy that honestly doesn't really know what he's talking about at all, but because he says it so confidently enough, he thinks that the girl will bite. Pretentious. She says in a YouTube interview, quote, "When they start to talk about classical music with me, I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? You think you're so eclectic, but you're really not. It's a costume," end quote. The song is essentially about the inauthenticity that can occur when dating someone new, how people can say just about anything to try and get with you, not knowing that in doing so, they make themselves look foolish. By trying to impress a girl by pretending you know better than her about something that she is clearly well versed in, it's just simply patronizing. Why parade around a specific artist or interest you aren't even that interested in, like a personality trait? And especially just to pull women. Like, come on. She has a few really great zingers in this track that I absolutely love. This song is written as if she is confronting another man after he talks to her like that. It's just so cheeky. With lines like, quote, "Talking about some dead composer, you're just a stoner, patronizing me. and what a poser, you think you're so interesting, end quote. It's just so awesome, and it's just such a confident song. I also like how she flips the narrative in the chorus with the line, quote, the very expert on the foolish things that men have said to woo and win me over, end quote, portraying herself now as the expert instead of the guy who is trying to come off as such. She knows best, and not only can she see through what she refers to earlier as a costume and a performance, but she also knows what she wants and what she doesn't. She's essentially saying she's heard it all before and she's not putting up with it, and I love that. We can see a progression within her confidence throughout this album, and it shows her experience and time has shaped her over the course of these songs. The scatting at the end pulls it all together with layered vocals and the light whispering in the back, which, by the way, fun fact, those backing vocals you hear is actually Clairo, which is pretty cool as an OG Immunity fan back in middle school. This song is one of my absolute favorites of hers, and I hope that it gets all the flowers it deserves.
Saging my bedroom.
Clean Air has such a nice guitar backing, and it almost has a country folky feel to it. It's very refreshing, much like the song title and theme itself. It makes for such a nice song and something I would want to sit in the sun and listen to. Laufey said herself that the song almost feels like an exhale, and I can totally see that sentiment from the lyrics in the song. The lines, my soul has suffered, get the fuck out of my atmosphere, I'm breathing clean, clean air, end quote. It's so on the nose, and it's a very blunt lyric, and honestly a little silly, but it just fits so perfectly within the song. This light and airy instrumental, tied to these lyrics about essentially shedding yourself from the weights and atmospheres that cloud yours, it's just a perfect fit. Like, yeah, dude, get the hell away from me. I'm trying to be happy. Pairing the song with the lyrics from the previous songs, like A Cautionary Tale, where she talks about taking on someone's draining personality and the annoyance and mistreatment she faces at the hands of these partners she's depicted through songs like Tough Luck and Mr. Eclectic, this song feels so fitting and like a real sunny spot in the album. She's done with these people and these situations and giving too much to those who don't appreciate it or mistreat it, and instead happy in her own peace and presence, her own clean air. While describing these things that this person did to her that brought her down to the point she has a line that he, quote, dragged her down to hell, end quote, she also has this beautiful sentiment of healing. I love especially in the second verse where she talks about metaphorically going to the doctor to get an x-ray on her heart because she has been heartbroken. The lyrics, quote, doctor said there's nothing left to see now, nothing weird or scary, although somehow your heart is turned back to gold, end quote. Not only is there no traces of the harm that these people have caused her, but her heart has taken that pain and turned it into something beautiful and valuable, gold. It shows that despite everything she's been through, she came out on the other side better, learning more about herself and her heart fuller. She says in an interview that she wanted this song to be about getting something out of your system that hasn't been doing you well, and knowing that eventually there will be better things on the other side of it, like her lyric Sweeter Pastures. She also atmospherically compares this song to Iceland, where she was at the time she wrote it, and I love that detail. For those who don't know, Iceland is a pretty wintry place, and during winter there is only 3 hours of sunlight a day. She said a goal with this song was being able to paint a very summery picture while living in a really cold and wintry place. I think the metaphors throughout this song of physically cleaning something to emotionally cleaning and taking care of yourself is really nice, and I think overall it just paints a really lovely picture. She talks about how instrumentally she was really inspired by country music and wanted this song to have a bit of a country twang to it. She mentions drawing inspiration from Dolly Parton and Emmylou Harris, and I think you can definitely hear that within the song, both through the guitars and the strings present. Thematically, I just love what this offers to the story. After so much tension surrounding love and time, this just feels like a big release, allowing time to do its thing to heal, allowing herself to see and be in better situations, and allowing her heart to heal from the love it lost and give it back to itself. It's just an amazing song for this project and definitely one of my favorites. As the album comes to a close, we will now be discussing the final track, Sabotage. Sabotage uses orchestral chaos to convey this idea of betrayal and treachery. Laufey talks about how this is about a hidden fear of messing things up, both in her own life and in relationships. The idea that something so good can possibly last without her doing something to cause it to go sour. She says in an interview, quote, I was so scared I was going to sabotage it, that my anxiety and my inner thoughts and my head spinning would get in the way of something beautiful. It's like an overthinker catastrophe anxious song, end quote. The lines convey this theme very appropriately. With the line, it's just a matter of time till you see the dagger, it's a specialty of mine to cause disaster, for cold, bloody, bitter sabotage, end quote. These lyrics are so sickeningly good, and it paints such a vivid picture of this image she has in her head. She views her worry about messing things up as something so dark it's described almost violently. It makes the action seem so much worse when in reality it's just a worry. And I love how the music can depict how anxiety can truly make a thought spiral into an entire scenario to stress about. She talks about asking her partner for reassurance, but still having the anxiety in the back of her mind. The lyric, quote, "I get in my head so easily. I don't understand. I'm my worst enemy," end quote, really puts this into perspective. It was never about what she was doing truly or what her partner was doing in this instance. Her anxiety had already convinced her of something that she needed to be alert for. As someone with anxiety, I can totally understand this sentiment, and I can honestly see this applying to things outside of romantic relationships as well. The idea of viewing yourself as your own worst enemy also goes back to the theme of love in this album and trying to trust yourself both in the face of love for others and, more importantly, the love that you hold for yourself. I think this song really shows that the process of learning is not linear, especially ending the album out on this song. And while we have seen so much growth through the progression of this album, we are all human and we all get in our heads sometimes. To the point that if we let this anxiety sit there for long enough, it can turn into self-sabotage. I think the usage of time in the song is the most prevalent out of anything on this album, talking about how it's only a matter of time until she messes something up that would cause her partner to leave her or a good situation to end. But I think something this album has taught is also that time can bring about beautiful things, and it's only a matter of time until you receive them, despite everything that's going on. To me, I like to end this song on a hopeful note despite all the chaos, a contradictory statement that perhaps it's also only a matter of time until things do work out, that the anxiety doesn't feel so bad. The song is all bracing for something. The lyrics depict a future moment, but ultimately, it's something that hasn't happened yet. And I think, like conveyed in some previous tracks, time can also be a friend. Perhaps it's not a matter of time until it falls apart, and perhaps the relationship could work out. I think to me, this song feels similarly to A Cautionary Tale, in which there is something that can be taken away from it. And to me, it's not to let yourself get in the way of the love you deserve and get in the way of letting time do its thing, because it's inevitable and it's only a matter of time until things turn out how they're meant to be, anyways. Love is so scary, especially being vulnerable with someone you really like. The idea that it might not stay that way forever or that it could end and be your fault is incredibly daunting. I think the strings in this song really showcase that perfectly. The explosion of chaos in the sound, resembling the overthinking brain being crowded with all of these worries. It's a beautiful touch, and I think ending it on the note it did with the album is so intentional, and to me, brilliant, because in a way, as listeners, we are left a bit unsure of how the story ends. And I think that's the point. Only time will tell, and only love knows, but if you give yourself grace and love for yourself, not only will you be able to handle when things don't work, but you will be ready to accept them if it does. It leaves it up to the listener to wonder if sabotage truly occurred, or if it ends up working out in the end as time passes. I like how open to interpretation it is, and I think it allows the audience to really take it in and apply it to their own lives. It shows that sometimes if you don't have the patience and love for yourself, simply loving someone else won't be enough if your unhealthy patterns don't allow you to truly connect with them and sit in that vulnerability. It's a dramatic closer to a roller coaster of an album and covering the highs and lows of love, whether that's towards romance, friends, or even towards yourself. It's a beautiful ending and I think a great placement of the track. Overall, this album is incredibly well done and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I truly love this album and I loved researching everything and going further into my analysis of all these wonderful songs. Laufey is such a talented artist, and I truly admire the way she can take an audience through the facets of love so effortlessly and so intricately. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and I would love to hear any albums you would love me to cover next. Please subscribe if you haven't, and also, I have a song out, and more music will be dropping soon. It's called Freezing Up, it's out everywhere, and there's a link in my bio. Bye!
I wanna take your